He stood there, drenched and trembling in the relentless rain, yet nothing could shake his devotion. Scout, a brave German shepherd, risked his own life to save Charlie, the man he loved more than anything. Little did he know, his loyalty wouldn't just rescue Charlie, it would reunite a long-lost family and teach an entire town about trust, bravery, and love beyond words. What Scout showed Nathan, Emma, and everyone in Maple Ridge is a powerful reminder. Sometimes, listening to your heart can change everything. Have you ever experienced a bond so strong that it defies explanation? Comment your stories below. I'd love to hear them. And if this touched your heart, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more inspiring stories. Rain poured relentlessly over Maple Ridge, a quaint, quiet town nestled within the rolling hills of Tennessee. The sky was shrouded in thick clouds, casting the morning into a persistent gloom. Streets glistened darkly, slick with rainwater, reflecting faint glows from street lamps struggling against the downpour. Maple Ridge was the kind of place where folks knew each other by name, their routines woven gently into each other's lives. But today, the weather seemed intent on unsettling the calm rhythm of this familiar town. Nathan Rivers gripped the steering wheel firmly, his knuckles whitened by a mix of urgency and apprehension. At 30 years old, Nathan was known around Maple Ridge not only for his unwavering dedication as an emergency medical technician, but also for his calm and decisive manner, qualities which earned him trust and respect among both his colleagues and the townspeople. Tall and lean, with short chestnut brown hair always neatly combed, Nathan had an earnest, trustworthy face highlighted by gentle hazel eyes that exuded empathy. He wore his uniform impeccably, sharp, clean, and always ready, even now as it clung damply to his shoulders from an earlier emergency call. His ambulance sped along Highway 27, the siren shrieking urgently into the gray morning. The team had been dispatched hastily after reports of a serious car accident near the outskirts of town. Nathan's focus was singular. Every second mattered. Every delay could mean the difference between life and death. Next to Nathan sat Rachel Bennett, his longtime partner. Rachel, in her mid-20s, possessed an assertive yet comforting presence. Petite but sturdy, with curly auburn hair tied back into a tight ponytail, her blue eyes sparkled fiercely, always alert, always ready for action. Rachel had chosen this job to overcome her own history of anxiety, each successful rescue helping her chip away at past insecurities. As they rounded a curve drenched in fog and rain, Nathan saw something ahead, blurred through the sheets of water. Immediately he slammed the brakes, the ambulance skidding slightly before stopping mere feet from the obstacle in the road. Standing perfectly still, bathed in rain, was a large German shepherd. Its coat, usually lush and shiny, was now soaked and heavy, clinging to its muscular frame. Nathan's eyes locked onto the dog's face. It gazed steadily, unwaveringly, right back at him, as though it had been expecting the ambulance precisely at this moment. "What's going on, Nate?" Rachel asked sharply, startled by the sudden stop. Nathan gestured toward the dog, clearly unsettled. He tapped the horn once, then again, gently at first, then louder. But the dog didn't flinch. It didn't even blink. It merely stood, ears alert, its tail hanging low, but not fearful. "That's no stray," Rachel murmured softly, leaning forward. She had seen enough injured, lost, or frightened animals in her time, but never one as determined or calm as this dog in the pouring rain. Nathan hesitated briefly, torn between duty and intuition. He quickly decided, stepping out into the torrential rain, pulling his jacket tighter around himself. Approaching slowly, Nathan took in the dog's impressive stature. Its fur, despite the drenching rain, hinted at a rich combination of black and tan. The dog was clearly healthy, powerful even, with intelligent amber eyes fixed keenly upon Nathan. A well-worn leather collar hung loosely around its neck, suggesting an owner somewhere, probably desperate for its return. "Come on, buddy," Nathan coaxed gently, extending a careful hand. He expected it to back away or show aggression, but instead, the dog merely stepped backward calmly, deliberately. Its movements seemed intentional rather than fearful. Nathan glanced anxiously at his watch. They had no time to spare. But just as he turned to return to the ambulance, the dog resumed its position, standing firmly in the middle of the road as if issuing a silent plea. It struck Nathan deeply. This dog wasn't acting randomly, it was desperate for something. Frustration and uncertainty clashed within him. Rachel opened the ambulance door, rain spattering her concerned face. "Nathan, we need to move. Dispatch is calling for updates." Nathan nodded reluctantly. "Give me just a minute, Rachel. Something isn't right." He moved toward the dog again, crouching this time. "What are you trying to tell me?" he whispered, his voice almost lost in the downpour. In response, the dog slowly turned, its eyes lingering briefly before trotting purposefully toward a faint path leading off the road and into the dense woodland nearby. Nathan's heart thumped anxiously. Instinctively, he sensed something important at stake. Rachel called after him, uncertainty clear in her voice. "Nathan, we can't do this now." Ignoring her, Nathan pushed into the damp, thick undergrowth, boots slipping against muddy earth and fallen leaves. He followed the dog deeper into the shadows, his pulse quickening with every step. After only moments through a tangled thicket beneath the dripping evergreens, he saw what the dog had been desperate to show him. There, sprawled motionless in the wet leaves, was an elderly man. Nathan rushed forward, kneeling beside him. The man's weathered face was pale, lips tinged blue, his breathing shallow and labored. Mud stained his jeans and flannel shirt, hinting he'd lain there for hours. Nathan quickly assessed the situation. It appeared to be a heart attack. He urgently yelled back to Rachel, "Rachel, get the stretcher, quickly! It's a cardiac arrest!" Rachel sprang into action without hesitation, all earlier doubts forgotten. She quickly maneuvered through the dense brush, reaching Nathan swiftly. Together, they moved the unconscious man carefully onto the stretcher. Meanwhile, the German shepherd stood quietly, anxiously pacing around them, its eyes never leaving the older man's form. As they hurried back toward the ambulance, Nathan glanced at the dog again. It was clear this animal was devoted, its loyalty fiercely evident in every anxious step. He opened the ambulance door, hesitating only a moment before gesturing gently to the dog. "Come on, then," Nathan urged quietly. With graceful ease, the dog leapt inside, settling protectively at the man's feet, its gaze vigilant yet calm. As Rachel climbed back into the ambulance, she spoke quietly. "Think they're family?" "Something like that," Nathan replied softly, glancing back. He watched the dog press gently against the stretcher, providing warmth and comfort to the man it had likely saved. With renewed urgency, Nathan drove rapidly toward the hospital. In the rearview mirror, Maple Ridge's familiar scenery blurred past, rain still falling heavily, cloaking the small town in an uncertain gloom. Yet within the ambulance, something powerful and hopeful resonated clearly through Nathan, a profound gratitude that his intuition, guided by an extraordinary dote, had possibly saved a life today. Nathan knew this was no ordinary morning. He had encountered something rare, a bond, unspoken yet profound, existing beyond the barriers of language or species. Scout, the name etched faintly on the dog's worn collar, now seemed an apt symbol. He had guided Nathan to something significant. Nathan silently vowed to ensure Scout's heroic efforts would not go unnoticed. As they raced toward the awaiting hospital, the siren echoed through the rain-drenched streets, carrying with it a story that Maple Ridge would soon remember as extraordinary.
Rain continued to lash the windows of Maple Ridge Hospital, a rhythmic, almost hypnotic drumming that echoed softly down the sterile hallways. The waiting area was sparsely filled. Among the tired faces and whispered conversations sat Dr. Emma Collins, quietly absorbed in her own anxious thoughts. At 28, Emma was among the youngest doctors in the hospital, yet her sharp mind and gentle demeanor made her an invaluable presence in emergencies. Petite and delicate-looking, with straight, raven-black hair that brushed gently against her shoulders, Emma had expressive green eyes, often shadowed by a thoughtful melancholy, a legacy from a childhood marked by sudden loss and unanswered questions. Today, the uncertainty felt heavier than usual, twisting her stomach into knots. The report of a serious car accident had triggered old fears, stirring memories she had long tried to bury about her younger brother, Liam, who had vanished from her life nearly 10 years ago after a bitter family dispute. Each accident victim admitted brought a small, irrational hope that Liam might somehow return. Hurt perhaps, but alive, ready to be reconciled. Nearby, at the nurse's station, head nurse Clara Mitchell observed Emma discreetly. Clara, a veteran nurse nearing retirement, had short, graying curls and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her ample frame carried years of authority, softened by motherly kindness. She understood Emma's tension better than most. Clara quietly poured a cup of coffee, handing it gently to Emma with a reassuring pat. "Try to take a deep breath, dear," Clara whispered. Emma smiled faintly, grateful for Clara's quiet support. Across town, in the forest near Highway 27, Nathan Rivers felt his heart hammer against his ribs. His boots slipped slightly in the slick mud and rain-soaked leaves as he followed Scout down the narrow, tangled path. Behind him, Rachel Bennett's voice was sharp with urgency, crackling over his radio, demanding he return immediately. "Nathan, dispatch is frantic. We have injured people waiting. What's going on?" Nathan hesitated for only a heartbeat before replying decisively. "Trust me, Rachel. Something's out here." He could hear the tension in her silence, understanding the risk he was taking, yet unable to shake the conviction that Scout had led him here for a vital reason. Scout paused briefly, turning his intense amber gaze back toward Nathan, ensuring the EMT still followed. The German Shepherd was impressive, even soaking wet. Muscular and focused, his coat darkened by rain, yet radiating purpose. The dog's unwavering determination sparked a flicker of admiration within Nathan. Scout wasn't merely loyal. He seemed acutely aware, almost human in his drive. The path opened suddenly to reveal an aging, secluded cabin. Its wood siding, weathered and darkened by years of storms, seemed to sag under the rain's relentless assault. Nathan paused, taking in the sight. Scout barked sharply, racing toward the porch, turning to Nathan urgently. Following Scout's lead, Nathan quickly ascended the slippery steps, his breath catching sharply as he saw the man lying unconscious on the floorboards. The stranger appeared in his mid-70s, his face pale beneath a neatly trimmed silver beard, his frame robust, yet clearly weakened by illness. His plaid flannel shirt and worn jeans suggested a simple, rural lifestyle. Nathan immediately recognized signs of a severe cardiac event. Without hesitation, he radioed Rachel, now firm and composed. "Found him. Possible heart attack. Get here fast." Rachel acknowledged instantly, professionalism overriding her earlier frustration. "On my way." Scout circled anxiously as Nathan checked vital signs, murmuring calm reassurances, his experienced hands moving swiftly. He could feel the dog's intense gaze, as though Scout was silently begging him to hurry, pleading for his owner's survival. Nathan's respect deepened. This dog had risked everything to save the man he clearly loved. Within moments, Rachel appeared, stretcher ready. "Let's go," she said tersely, glancing at Scout, clearly impressed by the dog's vigilance. "Bring him too. They'll both need each other." Nathan nodded gratefully, helping Scout into the ambulance alongside the patient. Back at Maple Ridge Hospital, Emma felt her anxiety spike as a nurse rushed toward her, clipboard in hand. "Dr. Collins, the ambulance is arriving. Cardiac emergency." Emma nodded, forcing composure into her trembling hands. As she moved toward the emergency entrance, a strange sensation prickled her skin, a vague premonition, as if something deeply personal awaited. Moments later, Emma watched intently as the ambulance doors burst open. Nathan quickly transferred the patient inside, briefing Emma succinctly. Scout hopped out gracefully, pacing nervously. Emma paused, studying the older man's face. She felt a sudden tug in her chest, inexplicable but powerful. His features, broad forehead, firm jawline, prominent nose, seemed oddly familiar, echoing traits she'd glimpsed in her own reflection countless times. "Do you know him?" Nathan asked softly, noticing Emma's hesitation. Emma shook herself back to focus, her voice unsteady. I'm not sure yet. Let's stabilize him first." She quickly gathered her medical team, pushing away the confusing familiarity to address immediate medical needs. In the waiting room, Scout now sat quietly, dripping but dignified, attracting curious glances. Clara approached, gently patting Scout's damp fur. The dog relaxed instantly, sensing her compassion. "You did good, boy," she whispered softly. Meanwhile, Nathan stood nearby, still damp and slightly shaken. Rachel approached cautiously, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You trusted your gut, Nate. You saved his life." Nathan exhaled slowly, relief flooding through him, his earlier anxiety easing. "No," he murmured quietly, watching Scout attentively. "He did. We just listened." Rachel smiled warmly. She knew Nathan's humility, his unwillingness to take credit, was why people trusted him implicitly. Inside the emergency room, Emma worked efficiently, yet her mind raced. The patient's condition stabilized gradually, monitors steadying. Now calmer, Emma closely examined his belongings, searching for identification. Pulling a worn wallet from his jeans, she froze at the faded photograph tucked within. A young woman holding a small boy, eyes bright, smile tender. Her heart thundered wildly. It was a photo she recognized immediately. Her own mother and little Liam, taken decades ago. Emma felt tears sting her eyes, a shock rippling through her entire body. This man wasn't just familiar. He was family. Questions swirled chaotically within her mind. How is this possible? Where had he been all these years? And Liam, could he still be out there, somehow connected to this man? Emma composed herself quickly, emotions carefully guarded. She returned to the patient's bedside, now determined to save not only his life, but also uncover the truth hidden beneath the weight of years and secrets. Scout watched her intently from the doorway, seeming to sense the shift, the importance of this moment. Outside, the rain slowed finally, clouds beginning to part slightly, letting muted sunlight filter gently through the windows of Maple Ridge Hospital. The storm, it seemed, had brought not only crisis but also revelation, setting into motion mysteries that would soon reshape lives. The rain had transformed Maple Ridge into a realm of muted colors and hazy outlines, soaking the earth until it softened into mud beneath Nathan's boots. His breath came quickly, misting softly in the chill air as he followed Scout deeper into the secluded woods. Each step brought him closer to a revelation that gnawed at his instincts with urgent anticipation. Scout moved ahead, his body sleek, strong, and purposeful even through the downpour. Nathan marveled once again at the dog's intense determination. He knew the creature had a reason for his urgency, yet he was unprepared for the stark reality that soon emerged from the misty shadows. At last, the trees parted slightly, revealing a small, worn cabin nestled discreetly among the towering pines. The structure looked ancient, its timbers weathered and silvered by time. Rain poured from its sagging roof, forming small pools around the foundation. Scout halted at the porch steps, his eyes urgently seeking Nathan's, as if pleading for immediate help. Nathan ascended carefully, heart racing. There, lying unconscious upon the weathered planks, was an elderly man. He was robustly built, but now pale and frail-looking, breathing in shallow gasps. His face was half covered by a gray, neatly trimmed beard, matching the silver strands of his thinning hair. Charlie Bennett, though Nathan didn't yet know his name, appeared to have lived a life of quiet solitude. Dressed in practical denim jeans, flannel shirt worn from countless washings, and rugged boots caked with mud, the old man's hands, weathered by years of manual labor, were slack at his sides. Scout whimpered, nudging gently at Charlie's shoulder, eyes wide with a worried intelligence that spoke volumes. Nathan swiftly knelt, checking Charlie's vital signs, confirming his suspicion of a severe heart attack. With practiced urgency, Nathan grabbed his radio, calling Rachel for backup. "Rachel, I found him. Cardiac arrest. We need immediate assistance." Rachel's reply was instantaneous and efficient, her tone resolute. "On my way now." Within minutes, the distant sound of sirens pierced through the steady rain, signaling Rachel's arrival with additional support. As the EMT team loaded Charlie onto a stretcher, Scout followed closely, eyes locked faithfully on his owner, refusing to be left behind. Nathan watched the dog's protective stance with admiration. When he opened the ambulance doors, Scout climbed in immediately, settling beside Charlie's still form, offering comfort in the way only animals can, silently, profoundly. Across town, inside Maple Ridge Hospital, Emma Collins paced restlessly in the staff lounge. Her nerves were still raw from the false alarm earlier, news that her missing brother Liam had not been among the crash victims. A mixture of relief and persistent dread left her unsettled. She felt certain something deeper awaited revelation. Emma poured another cup of lukewarm coffee, her hand trembling slightly, betraying an anxiety she usually managed to mask expertly. The lounge door opened quietly, revealing Dr. Robert Hughes, the senior physician and head of emergency medicine at Maple Ridge. A tall, distinguished man in his late 50s, Robert carried himself with unwavering confidence. His dark hair had silvered elegantly over the years, and his stern yet compassionate blue eyes missed nothing. He had been Emma's mentor from the start, guiding her with a firm but nurturing hand. He studied Emma closely, seeing the turmoil in her posture, the shadow beneath her expressive eyes. "Still thinking about Liam?" Robert's voice was gentle, sympathetic, familiar with the weight she carried. Emma sighed deeply, nodding slightly. "It never gets easier," she admitted quietly, voice breaking slightly. Robert placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes, answers come from the least expected places. Have faith." Their conversation was abruptly interrupted as a nurse burst into the room. "Dr. Collins, Dr. Hughes, incoming cardiac emergency. Nathan Rivers just called it in." Emma quickly composed herself, casting aside her personal thoughts to focus on her responsibilities. She hurried down the corridor, pulling on fresh gloves, readying herself mentally for the challenge ahead. Outside the emergency entrance, Nathan quickly updated Emma and Robert about Charlie's condition as they moved him swiftly inside. Scout stood anxiously, dripping wet yet vigilant, refusing to leave his owner's side. Emma glanced briefly at Scout, feeling an instant and inexplicable connection to the dog's intense loyalty. As Charlie was whisked away for immediate treatment, Emma paused momentarily, staring at the patient. Something about his face stirred an inexplicable recognition deep within her. She shook herself mentally, dismissing it as stress-induced imagination. Nearby, Scout paced restlessly. Recognizing his discomfort, Nathan gently approached the dog. "It's okay, boy. We'll take care of him." Nathan's voice was calm, soothing Scout's nerves. Nurse Clara Mitchell, having noticed the commotion, approached quietly. Clara, always maternal and gentle, kneeled beside Scout. "You're a brave soul," she murmured, patting his wet fur tenderly. Scout relaxed slightly, leaning into her comforting touch. Meanwhile, Emma, working with precise urgency, stabilized Charlie's vital signs. Yet her mind raced with troubling familiarity. The man on the stretcher, his features echoed her mother's photographs, the strong jawline, broad brow, prominent nose. It was unnerving, impossible to ignore. She felt a tremor run through her hands. Emma quickly shook it off, focusing entirely on the patient's immediate medical needs. Hours later, as Charlie rested comfortably, Emma finally allowed herself a careful examination of his personal belongings, still haunted by a strange familiarity. In his wallet, she discovered an aged, faded photograph tucked behind identification. Her breath caught painfully. The image portrayed a young woman holding a smiling child, her mother and Liam, unmistakably. Emma's heart thundered violently, realization flooding her with overwhelming force. This man, Charlie Bennett, was linked to her family in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. Questions flooded her mind. Who exactly was Charlie Bennett? How was he connected to Liam's disappearance? Outside the hospital, rain began to ease slightly, clouds parting to reveal faint beams of sunlight struggling through. Scout now sat calmly beside Nathan, his gaze steady on the hospital doors. Nathan gently stroked Scout's head, feeling profoundly moved by the dog's extraordinary loyalty. "We'll find out who you are soon," Nathan promised softly, unaware that his words carried deeper meaning than he could know. Inside, Emma, heart pounding and eyes blurred with unshed tears, stared again at the old photograph. This revelation changed everything. The false alarm earlier had unsettled her, but this new mystery brought even greater urgency. Emma knew instinctively that Charlie Bennett was the key to long-hidden family truths. As the skies cleared gradually above Maple Ridge, it felt as though destiny itself had intervened amid the cold, relentless rain, bringing together lives long separated, guiding hearts toward reconciliation and healing. Emma realized the day's trauma had opened doors she never imagined existed, and now she must step courageously through them. Charlie Bennett remained in critical condition, the gentle hum of hospital monitors echoing softly through the stark, sterile room. The walls, painted a muted shade of white, offered little comfort, reinforcing the fragile reality of the situation. Dr. Emma Collins adjusted the intravenous drip carefully, her mind restless with unanswered questions. She glanced down at the elderly man, his face calm in unconsciousness, unaware of the emotional turmoil he stirred within her. Every detail of Charlie's face evoked a strange sense of familiarity, a powerful, almost magnetic pull Emma couldn't shake off. Determined to unravel the mystery, Emma had quietly begun delving into hospital records and old local archives between her shifts, hoping to uncover who exactly Charlie Bennett was and why he had her family's photograph hidden away in his wallet. Her pulse quickened each time she thought of it. The image of her younger brother, Liam, smiling innocently from that faded picture, haunted her relentlessly. Emma knew she wouldn't find peace until she understood Charlie's true connection to her family's troubled past. Outside, near the hospital entrance, Scout waited faithfully. The German Shepherd had not moved since the ambulance arrived 2 days earlier, a steadfast guardian determined to remain close to his beloved owner. Scout's rich black and tan fur was beginning to dull from exposure, and he appeared weary, but his amber eyes remained resolutely focused on the doors of Maple Ridge Hospital, watching each person who entered or exited with hopeful anticipation. Passers-by occasionally stopped to offer him scraps of food or gentle pats, but Scout accepted only minimal nourishment, his attention never wavering from the hospital entrance. Nathan Rivers approached the dog quietly, a bowl of water and fresh food in hand. Nathan's face wore a shadow of fatigue and worry. His supervisor, Captain Gregory Haynes, had sternly reprimanded him earlier that morning. Captain Haynes, a tall, imposing figure in his early 50s, known for his strict adherence to procedure and efficiency, had made clear his displeasure over Nathan's choice to follow Scout into the woods, citing a critical delay in response time to the reported car accident. Nathan respected the captain deeply, a man who had mentored him through difficult years after Nathan lost his own father. But today he felt shaken by the captain's rebuke. Doubts gnawed at him relentlessly. Had his instincts truly been justified? Had he risked too much by listening to a dog rather than following protocol? Nathan knelt beside Scout, gently placing the bowl within the dog's reach. "Come on, boy," he murmured softly. Scout turned briefly, his eyes full of gratitude. Yet after only a few bites, he returned his gaze resolutely to the hospital doors. Nathan sighed, deeply moved by the dog's unwavering loyalty. He couldn't help feeling a bond with Scout, a connection forged during that desperate morning in the rain. Nathan knew he owed it to the animal to protect him, even if others didn't understand. Nearby, seated quietly on a bench beneath an old oak tree, was Mrs. Abigail Foster. A retired elementary school teacher, Abigail was a gentle figure in her mid-70s, petite and frail-looking but sharp-minded and fiercely independent. Her snow-white hair was neatly tied into a bun, framing a delicate face that still carried traces of the beauty from her younger years. She came daily to the hospital grounds for fresh air and company, intrigued by the devoted dog that had captivated the attention of staff and visitors alike. Today, Abigail carried a knitted blanket, soft and worn from years of use, and cautiously approached Nathan. "Young man," Abigail called softly, her voice steady despite her frailty. "I see how devoted this creature is. Perhaps this might help him through the chill." Nathan smiled warmly, taking the blanket gratefully. "Thank you, Mrs. Foster. I'm sure Scout appreciates your kindness." As Nathan gently draped the blanket around Scout, the dog finally relaxed slightly, comforted by its warmth. Abigail sat quietly beside Nathan, her soft voice breaking the silence gently. "You know, Nathan, sometimes the heart leads us where we must go, even if others do not understand." Nathan looked at Abigail, startled yet comforted by her wisdom, sensing the quiet strength within her words. He nodded, silently grateful for her reassurance. Inside the hospital, Emma continued her discreet search for answers. She had finally uncovered a key document, Charlie Bennett's admission records. Her hands trembled slightly as she read the paperwork. Charlie had arrived in Maple Ridge only a few years earlier, purchasing the small cabin in the woods, living quietly and anonymously. Prior to Maple Ridge, his past appeared curiously blank, as if deliberately erased. Emma's pulse quickened with excitement and apprehension. This secrecy only deepened her suspicion. Who exactly was Charlie Bennett before he settled into anonymity? And why had he chosen this place, this quiet refuge? Suddenly, Nurse Clara Mitchell entered the records room quietly, startling Emma slightly. Clara, warm-hearted yet sharply observant, noticed Emma's anxiety immediately. "Finding anything interesting, dear?" she asked gently, her eyes twinkling with knowing kindness. Emma hesitated, then sighed, deciding to trust Clara. "He has a photograph of my family in his wallet. Clara, I don't understand how or why." Clara squeezed Emma's shoulder supportively. "Sometimes secrets find their own way of revealing themselves. Trust your instincts, Emma." That evening, Nathan sat quietly by Scout's side as darkness slowly enveloped Maple Ridge. The hospital lights glowed softly in the twilight, windows casting gentle warmth onto the damp pavement. Scout stirred slightly, ears perked, and Nathan followed his gaze toward the hospital doors. Emma stood there, silhouetted by the interior lights, deep in thought. She saw Nathan and Scout, offering a tentative, grateful smile. Nathan returned it warmly, acknowledging the silent bond of mutual uncertainty and hope that now connected them. Nathan felt reassured, despite the reprimand, that he'd done the right thing in following Scout. In Emma's determined gaze and Scout's unwavering vigil, Nathan saw confirmation of something far more important than mere protocol: trust in instincts, loyalty, and compassion. Scout lay his head on Nathan's knee softly, finally resting his tired body for a moment. In the quiet, Nathan felt a sense of purpose returning. His actions, though risky, had perhaps set something extraordinary into motion, something beyond his immediate understanding. And in that quiet hour, as Emma turned back inside the hospital to continue unraveling Charlie's mysterious past, Nathan and Scout shared a silent, comforting companionship beneath the soft, watchful gaze of Abigail Foster, who quietly knitted nearby, understanding more deeply than either of them could guess. The rain had finally ceased, leaving Maple Ridge enveloped in a lingering dampness that clung to every surface, carrying a sharp chill into the bones of anyone venturing outdoors. Nathan Rivers arrived at the hospital parking lot earlier than usual that morning, his mind preoccupied with Scout's welfare. Over the past few days, Nathan had developed a deep, paternal bond with the loyal German Shepherd. Scout's unwavering dedication to his owner, Charlie, had touched Nathan profoundly, leaving him both inspired and concerned. Yet, as he approached the familiar spot near the hospital entrance where Scout had faithfully waited day and night, a pang of alarm twisted through Nathan's stomach. Scout was nowhere to be seen. Nathan's heart accelerated with sudden fear. He scanned the area urgently, calling the dog's name with growing anxiety. "Scout! Scout, where are you, boy?" But the spot was eerily empty. Nothing but the faint outline of the blanket Abigail Foster had provided, now damp and abandoned on the cold ground. Panic surged through him, imagining the worst. Without hesitation, Nathan began an urgent search around the hospital grounds and nearby streets. He knew Scout would never willingly abandon his vigil unless something was terribly wrong. Minutes stretched painfully into hours as Nathan searched tirelessly, desperation mounting with every fruitless minute. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Nathan spotted a familiar figure crumpled near the side of a quiet road adjacent to the hospital grounds. His heart sank, dread gripping his chest as he sprinted forward. Scout lay motionless, drenched from the overnight dew, his breathing shallow and weak. Nathan dropped to his knees, gently cradling Scout's head, feeling the faint but reassuring pulse beneath his fingers. "Hang on, buddy," Nathan whispered hoarsely, his voice shaking. Without delay, he carefully scooped Scout into his arms, hurriedly carrying the limp dog back to his truck, determined to reach Maple Ridge Veterinary Hospital as swiftly as possible. Maple Ridge Veterinary Hospital was modest yet warm, run by Dr. Lauren Spencer, a veterinarian in her mid-30s known for her competence and profound empathy towards animals. Lauren had curly blonde hair often tied loosely in a messy bun, warm brown eyes, and a patient, reassuring presence that calmed both pets and their worried owners. She immediately took charge, carefully placing Scout onto the examination table, quickly administering intravenous fluids and covering him with heated blankets. As Lauren worked swiftly, she quietly reassured Nathan, whose eyes were clouded with concern. "He's severely dehydrated and malnourished," Lauren explained gently, "but we caught it in time. Scout's a fighter. I think he'll pull through." Nathan felt relief wash over him, yet guilt lingered stubbornly. He wished he'd checked on Scout sooner. Lauren seemed to sense his internal struggle, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "Nathan, you saved him just in time. Scout clearly trusts you deeply." Nathan nodded gratefully, promising himself to never underestimate Scout's resilience again. Back at Maple Ridge Hospital, Emma Collins stood quietly in the records room, fatigue lining her delicate features. Her relentless search for answers had finally borne fruit, though not in the way she'd anticipated. As Emma examined the old, faded medical file labeled Charles Bennett, her heart pounded erratically. The document revealed a story that shook Emma's very foundations. Charlie Bennett was, without doubt, her biological father, the very man her mother had always claimed died shortly after Emma's birth. Emma's legs felt weak, her entire world shifted. Memories rushed forward vividly. She recalled late nights during childhood when she'd pressed her mother for answers about her father, only to receive vague, sorrowful responses. The shock of betrayal and confusion overwhelmed her. Why had her mother lied for so long? What had driven Charlie to abandon them? Questions spun chaotically in her mind, unanswered mysteries demanding resolution. Emma sank slowly onto a chair, the file trembling slightly in her hands. Nurse Clara Mitchell entered quietly, immediately noting Emma's distress. "Emma, dear, are you all right?" Clara asked gently, her voice calm yet firm. Emma hesitated, then handed the file silently to Clara. As Clara skimmed the pages, her eyes widened slightly. "Oh my goodness," she whispered softly, placing an arm around Emma's shoulders comfortingly. "Family secrets often run deeper than we expect. Clara said knowingly. Perhaps Charlie had his reasons, ones you might yet understand. Emma nodded shakily, determined now to confront Charlie directly once he awoke. Meanwhile, at the veterinary clinic, Scout gradually regained strength. Lauren watched warmly as Nathan gently stroked the dog's fur, a deep bond evident in their shared silence. Scout opened his amber eyes slowly, recognition lighting his gaze as he nudged Nathan's hand weakly. Nathan's relief was palpable, his heart lifted by Scout's resilience. "You're an incredible dog, Scout," Nathan murmured softly. "Charlie's lucky to have you." Lauren smiled warmly, touched by the moment. "He should stay here for observation tonight," she advised gently. Nathan agreed reluctantly, promising to return early the next morning. Later that evening, Nathan visited the hospital to update Emma on Scout's recovery, unaware of the emotional turmoil she'd been experiencing. As Nathan approached, Emma looked up, eyes shadowed yet thoughtful. "Scout's stable," Nathan began quietly, sensing her mood immediately. "He almost died waiting out there. He's unbelievably loyal." Emma sighed deeply, revealing softly, "I learned something today that explains so much, Nathan. Charlie Bennett, he's my father." Nathan stared at her, stunned. The implications of Emma's revelation felt immense. "Your father?" Nathan repeated, almost whispering. Emma nodded, tears brimming silently in her eyes. "All my life, I believed he was dead. Now everything's changed." Nathan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Maybe this was meant to happen, Emma. Maybe Scout led us all here, exactly where we needed to be." Emma felt comforted by Nathan's quiet strength, allowing herself to lean on him momentarily. As night enveloped Maple Ridge, Emma sat quietly beside Charlie's hospital bed, conflicted yet resolute. Soon, Charlie stirred slightly, his eyes fluttering open briefly, meeting Emma's questioning gaze for the first time. Recognition flashed faintly across his weakened features before exhaustion reclaimed him. Emma knew that tomorrow, difficult conversations would unfold, but for tonight, it was enough knowing Scout survived and that truths hidden for decades were finally emerging. Outside the veterinary clinic, Scout rested peacefully, warmed by blankets and cared for tenderly by Lauren Spencer. Nathan remained close, watching over the brave dog whose unyielding loyalty had catalyzed events that neither he nor Emma had imagined. In these quiet moments, Nathan understood profoundly that sometimes the strongest truths came from places least expected. The morning sun rose slowly over Maple Ridge, casting gentle hues of pink and gold across streets still glistening from overnight dew. A fresh, tranquil calm enveloped the town, as though nature itself was breathing a sigh of relief after days of relentless tension. Nathan Rivers arrived at the Maple Ridge Veterinary Hospital just as sunlight brushed the roof, filling him with hope. Scout had been through so much, and Nathan was eager to bring him to Charlie's bedside at last. Scout's unwavering loyalty had created an unexpected bond between the EMT and the German Shepherd, a relationship built upon mutual trust and silent understanding. Nathan entered the clinic, greeted warmly by Dr. Lauren Spencer, who waited with Scout beside her. Lauren smiled broadly, a radiant relief evident in her expressive brown eyes. "He's ready to go, Nathan," she announced softly, gently scratching Scout's thick fur. Scout sat proudly, his powerful body regaining strength rapidly. The dog's intelligent amber eyes shone brightly again, filled with anticipation and gratitude. Nathan knelt beside Scout, patting his side affectionately. "You did well, Scout. Ready to see Charlie." Scout responded with a joyful bark, clearly understanding. As Nathan led Scout out, Lauren followed quietly, admiration clear in her gaze. "You know," Lauren began thoughtfully, "we rarely witness a bond like Scout and Charlie's. It's truly extraordinary. And you, Nathan, are part of that bond now." Nathan nodded appreciatively, deeply moved by her words. He knew his intuitive decision to follow Scout had nearly cost him his job, yet looking at Scout's recovering strength, he felt certain he had made the right choice. The feeling warmed him profoundly, affirming his belief in instincts and loyalty above rigid protocol. Meanwhile, at Maple Ridge Hospital, Emma Collins sat quietly beside Charlie's bedside. The elderly man had shown signs of gradual improvement, his breathing steadier, yet he remained unconscious. Emma's heart raced anxiously, desperate to confront the father she'd never known, the father she believed dead since childhood. As she gazed at Charlie's peaceful expression, she felt overwhelmed by a complex web of emotions: confusion, anger, but most of all, longing. Emma had spent sleepless nights rehearsing countless questions she needed to ask Charlie. Yet now, all she truly wanted was for him to wake, to speak, to know her at last. Just then, a soft knock at the door drew her attention. Nathan stepped inside, Scout eagerly at his heels. Emma stood immediately, relief flooding her delicate features as Scout trotted gently toward Charlie's bedside. The German shepherd gently nudged Charlie's hand, as though silently urging him awake. Nathan stood nearby, a supportive presence, quietly observing the emotional reunion. Scout rested his head gently upon Charlie's arm, his expressive eyes fixed lovingly on his owner's face. Then, miraculously, Charlie's fingers twitched slightly, responding instinctively to Scout's comforting touch. Slowly, his eyelids fluttered, opening with effort. His gaze was hazy at first, clouded by confusion and exhaustion, yet quickly cleared upon seeing Scout's familiar face so close to his own. Charlie's pale lips curved into a trembling, joyous smile, tears slipping silently down his weathered cheeks. His voice, raspy yet full of deep affection, whispered faintly, "Scout, my dear friend." Scout responded with an affectionate lick, tail wagging gently. Charlie's eyes shifted, meeting Emma's gaze for the first time clearly. He paused, heart visibly quickening as he saw the young woman standing anxiously beside him. Recognition dawned instantly upon seeing Emma's expressive green eyes, so remarkably similar to his own. His voice broke softly, emotion trembling in every word. "Emma, is it really you?" Emma's composure crumbled, tears streaming openly now, her voice choked yet resolute. "Yes, it's me, Charlie. Or should I say, Dad?" Charlie's lips quivered, overwhelmed by guilt and immense joy simultaneously. "I've missed you every single day," he confessed gently, voice thick with sincerity. "Not a day went by that I didn't regret leaving." Emma squeezed his hand tenderly, forgiveness and understanding replacing lingering resentment. "We have time now, Dad. We can rebuild everything." Watching silently, Nathan felt profoundly moved by the powerful scene unfolding before him. He stepped back slightly, discreetly leaving father and daughter to their emotional reunion, content to share in their joy quietly. Nurse Clara Mitchell, standing quietly in the hallway, observed the scene through the window, her wise eyes misted with warmth and satisfaction. She placed a comforting hand gently on Nathan's shoulder, whispering softly, "This is the kind of miracle we always hope for." As days passed, Charlie Bennett steadily recovered, buoyed significantly by Emma's unwavering support and Scout's comforting presence. Hospital staff, touched deeply by their story, often stopped by to offer heartfelt good wishes. Abigail Foster frequently visited as well, bringing gentle companionship and knitted scarves for everyone, quickly becoming a treasured friend. Even Captain Gregory Haynes softened his earlier criticism, acknowledging Nathan's courageous intuition had genuinely saved lives. Nathan eventually received a formal commendation for his bravery and dedication. Yet he understood that his greatest reward was witnessing the reunion of Charlie's fractured family and the profound lessons he'd learned from Scout about loyalty and trust. A month later, Charlie Bennett fully recovered and was discharged. Emma invited her father and Scout to move in with her, eager to begin their new life together. Their home soon echoed with laughter and warmth, Scout basking in newfound happiness, forever cherished and protected. Nathan continued his work as an EMT, strengthened by renewed faith in intuition and compassion, principles embodied profoundly by Scout's heroic actions. Lawrence Spencer frequently joined him for coffee, sharing quiet conversations about the miracles they'd witnessed, friendship blossoming steadily between them. Maple Ridge returned gradually to its peaceful rhythm, forever enriched by the extraordinary tale of courage, loyalty, and reconciliation that had unfolded within its quiet boundaries. In the evenings, Nathan often visited Emma, Charlie, and Scout, welcomed warmly into their joyful household. On one such evening, as twilight painted the skies in shades of gold and lavender, Charlie gently placed his hand on Nathan's shoulder, gratitude shining deeply in his eyes. "You trusted Scout when nobody else did, Nathan. Thank you." Nathan smiled humbly, glancing affectionately at Scout resting contentedly beside Charlie's feet. "Scout taught me far more than I ever imagined," he admitted softly. "I owe him everything." Scout lifted his head, amber eyes gleaming brightly, almost as if understanding every word. Charlie chuckled warmly, squeezing Emma's hand gently. Family reunited and whole again. Nathan, heart filled with quiet gratitude, knew he had found something rare: clarity about who he was, trust in his instincts, and proof that miracles truly came from the heart. The story of Scout reminds us gently that loyalty and love can bridge even the deepest divides. In our daily lives, it's often easy to overlook the quiet heroes beside us, those who love us without question and trust us without hesitation. Let's honor them today by being more attentive, patient, and loving. If Scout's incredible journey touched your heart, please share this story with someone who might need inspiration, and remember to subscribe for more uplifting tales. May God bless you and your loved ones with courage, faith, and unconditional love. If you agree, kindly leave a heartfelt amen in the comments. Amen.